All right, are we ready to go?
We should be ready.
Should I call the meeting to order?
Yep.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Nice to see you back, Lex. I am going to ask you to lead us in the pledge, but I'm going to call the Moab City Council meeting to order on May 28th, 2024 at 6:01 p.m. And Lex, if you would lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Lex, and we're glad to see you back. Okay, next up, we have public comments. Anybody out here would like to make a comment? Empty box?
Yeah, come on, Doug.
All right, no, seeing none, we'll move on to department updates with Alexi for a sustainability update with some really exciting news for all of us.
Okay, I have a couple fun updates on electric vehicle chargers and dark sky. I'm going to start with electric vehicles and then shift over to dark sky. So if you've been out at Lions Park, you may have seen some updates, well, construction for a while, and some chargers that look like they're finished. They are very nearly finished. This started with a council-approved license agreement in September of 23 for 6 to 8 fast chargers for electric vehicles. With Rocky Mountain Power, who installed the equipment through Electrify America, and they will also be maintaining these. So this is how the site plan looked compared to where the parking lot is, and then this is what they look like on the ground. Once in operation, they'll contribute to our goal of reducing emissions by 80% by 2040, and they will also make fast charging readily available to the public, which has been in demand. So we ended up with 8 chargers and some equipment over off to the side, kind of in the back, you can see it there. And they also replaced a couple trees that were sort of struggling and were in the construction site. So hopefully these will do better. I know they worked with Parks to pick them out. Oh, and I guess I also should point out there's a pull-through spot in here, which is a little unusual, but it should help with people who have trucks towing trailers and things like that. The Public Service Commission regulates prices. They're in Schedule 60. Discounts are available for Rocky Mountain Power and for people who are charging in non-peak hours. Though they are in commissioning for like 12 to 14 days at this point. We expect them to be done in June, and Rocky Mountain Power and the UDOT are expecting to do a ribbon cutting in maybe late June or early July, potentially with the governor. Okay, the next
Actually, so will you let us know if the governor's coming? Because the
Yes,
governor
I
may
will.
not let us
I'm
know.
hoping they'll tell me. There was this, I learned this on Friday.
Okay,
So I will definitely keep you updated when I learn a little bit more. I'm on the meeting for the next ribbon cutting meeting, and I should know more then about what they're planning to do.
I can follow up with Mike Meyer, who's one of his, and see if he has any indication too. So I'll reach out because we'd like him to be here. It'd be awesome to get the governor here.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it would be
make
great.
that happen.
Okay, so I'm going to switch to dark sky. This initiative began in 2016, and I'm just going to cut to the chase. We are an international dark sky community now. We've had a lot of help along the way. The Friends of Arches and Canyonlands, Moab Dark Skies, National Parks, a lot of residents have volunteered on this, staff, both at the city and with Dark Sky, and elected officials. So a lot of people have contributed to this happening. It's been a long time coming. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we did and what you can expect, because even though we have the designation, we still have a little bit more to do because we still need to get ourselves compliant and help the community also have dark sky fixtures. So in the application, we updated the city code, which you may recall happening 2019 and updated last year in December. We also have put together a plan for the city to become compliant with our own streetlights, our own properties, and the ones through Rocky Mountain Power. I've worked with the community on support and documenting that support and also putting together events. We also have volunteers who are tracking dark sky quality. So hopefully as these changes happen over time, we'll have a little bit of information on what's happening. As far as city compliance, a lot of you gave me feedback on the test strip of lights. We are moving forward with that. So we tested out 2,400 and 3,000 Kelvin lights on Main Street. We've ordered 27. So we went ahead and kind of shot in the middle because the feedback was very split between the two. That should also be in closer matching when we do replace the rest of the streetlights with Rocky Mountain Power, which are expected to be 3,000 Kelvin in color. So the 2,700 will be a little bit warmer, but it's hard for human eyes to distinguish within 300 Kelvin. So they'll be a little bit warmer, hopefully easier on the eye, which is some of the comments we got about the 3,000, and still give us some pretty good light. They also will be brighter, so hopefully that will add to pedestrian safety. One of the other pieces of feedback we received was on our own code. So as we've been going through this and we're retrofitting our own fixtures, we are also helping make sure that this is happening in new construction and in renovations. So the piece that they would like to see us update in our own code is something on signage. We said we would work with them on that to make sure it's something that we can review before people install signs rather than after, which is how it wasn't in our application to begin with. So this is an example of where we've replaced our own lighting. And then we've also seen some voluntary retrofits come through from the community as well, in addition to people who are doing renovations and new construction. So those things are all coming into dark sky compliance. And then we also have been working with our own city staff on getting some information out there with communications and compliance. So you may see ads like this in newspapers or some of these kinds of information going out to help people evaluate whether their own fixtures are. And we're also working with the Friends of Arches and Canyonlands on providing information to people about their outdoor lighting retrofit program to make this more accessible so people can do this, because in our code, we have a deadline by 2029, and we're hoping that people will switch over starting now, as opposed to closer to the deadline. Finally, I'd like to invite you to celebrate with us. Astrofest is coming up with the national parks, June 7th to 9th. We're going to be with Moab Arts at the Arts and Ag Festival, helping get information out there about our designation and also opportunities to go out and see the stars, because that'll be a new moon. So it's going to be the best time to see the sky. And then we're also, for people who want to go to bed before 10 or 11:30 p.m., a dark sky themed skate that will be during daylight hours, but appropriately in Sun Court next to Star Hall. And with that, I appreciate your support with this, and looking forward to working on getting the rest of our city into full compliance as we go forward. Thanks.
Great work.
So if you guys will indulge me for a minute, I just want to give you a little bit of history because this is pretty exciting. This took a long time and a lot of work. And this all started back in 2016 when Superintendent, Park Service Superintendent Kate Cannon at the time called myself and Nate Ament, who was the Colorado Plateau dark sky coordinator for the Park Service, into her office, and she sat us down and she said, you know, I really think it'd be great if Moab became a dark sky community. Do you guys think you could help with that? Friends of Arches and Canyonlands and Colorado Plateau. And we're like, sure, yeah, that sounds great. This would be great, you know, and she's like, great, go out and do good. So he and I walked out of the office, walked into the parking lot, looked at each other and went, what the hell did we just agree to do? And so, you know, we felt like the first thing, we brought in Crystal White, who was a dark sky ranger at Dead Horse Point, and decided that the first thing we need to do is to get the city and the county to get their lighting ordinances in place. And in the past, 20 years ago, when we tried to do this, it was not very well accepted in the community. So we just thought, now's a new day. We didn't want to be connected to the Park Service. We felt it was really important that the community didn't think the government was telling us what to do. So we really wanted it to be a community effort, and it really started with the city and the county. So after many meetings with Zachariah Levine, Kaylin Jones was really involved in that. A whole group of Darcy Brown was also very involved. We were meeting on a monthly basis, and we kind of helped develop these codes. And then finally they got approved, and here we are 8 years later. But again, it's a lot more complicated than it would seem. And Richard also was involved as the Vista because the previous sustainability director left, and he was there. And so he did also a lot of work in getting this continuing to move forward. And I have to say, there was times when I'm like, do we really want the ordinance or do we want a dark sky community? Because I want the ordinance. And if we don't get a dark sky community, that's okay with me. But now we have both. And thanks to Alexi for pushing it over the finish line. Really appreciate that.
Can I add one tiny thing?
Sure.
The very, very first thing I ever did in terms of being involved in municipal government was being on a committee that Mayor Dave made me be on for Dark Skies in 2002, and it was a total failure.
Yeah, total.
Total abject failure.
Yeah, it was.
So
But
the
that's
arc,
how lo-
the arc is long.
right, exactly.
Thanks for starting that.
Yeah.
conversation.
right. Well, I got to the point of just like with all the controversy that, goes on in this community, it's like, how can you argue with having stars to look at every night? And there's always an argument for everything in this town, but we had very little resistance to this go around. So really exciting, looking forward to the city getting their dark sky compliance in shape and getting the community going too. So thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lexi. Congrats.
All right. Next up, agenda item 4, consent agenda. We just have 2 items: approval of the minutes from the regular meeting, May 14th, and approval of the bills against the city of Moab in the amount of $576,607.01. They have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Jason, second.
I can second that.
Second by Colin. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Then we have 2 public hearings tonight. The first one is a community development block grant. This is the second public hearing. If you recall, we had one earlier this year. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing at 6:14. And this hearing is called to allow all citizens to provide input concerning the project that was awarded under the 2024 Community Development Block Grant Program, which is the Swanee Park All Abilities Playground. We amended our capital improvement plan and decided to apply for the funds. The playground is going to be located at 400 North, 100 West. Brianna is our Parks and Rec Trails Director. She'll be the project manager for this project. The application was successful in the regional rating and ranking process. Swanee Park All Abilities Playground was approved for $250,000. So we have a grant to help subsidize the remaining. And then Brianna is going to explain the project to you. We'll open it up to the public, close the public hearing, and then you guys can ask questions when you consider.
Great.
Okay. So, as we all know, this is an exciting project. When I was running for mayor, I had folks ask me about it. It's like, can't you get a new playground at Swanee Park? What is wrong with you?
Yes.
And it was like, that seems so easy. And it's like, yeah, well, let's see if we can get a grant. There's probably lots of grants out there. I will work on that. Well, here we are 2.5 years later. Everything is not as easy as you think, but at least we've got the funding. We've got Bree who moved this forward, and now she is going to make a presentation the best that she can with technology that she may or may not have. Okay. All right, good.
You got it.
You guys heard about this at our last public hearing for CDBG, so we kind of have a sense of what we're talking
Yes.
about here. Okay, so now I share the screen. Right, we got this.
This is good. Okay. Thank you to everybody for your patience. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So in terms of the CDBG grant, I wanted to talk a little bit about why we chose to apply for the grant and why we selected Swanee Park as the site for the potential upgrades. So we've recently published the Parks and Recreation 2024 Master Plan. And as you guys know, that identified ADA access throughout the city of Moab and especially the park system as in need of improvement. And Swanee Park is one of our flagship parks in town. It sees some of our highest number of visitors and is one of our main event sites. And with some Placer AI data, we estimated that we have about 180,000 visitors a year at the Swanee Park and Playground. So we felt like this was a great location to do this at, and then its propensity to the Moab Recreation and Aquatic Center is also helpful, as that provides some additional activities and restroom sites as well. So in terms of the project scope, there's a lot of, different elements that we want to include in this playground upgrade. And then the upgrades are going to be overarching. Not only will we improve access to the playground, the safety elements, the aesthetic, and the overall experience, but of course we want to provide just a really fun time for, the kiddos and families in our community as well. Playground elements that were important that we identified in this project were, of course, new playground equipment, ramped access points and ADA features, shade structures, rubberized surfacing, and sidewalks. In terms of resources, we've just identified, a couple specifics for this project. Of course, the funding is both from the City of Moab and the CDBG grant. Myself as the project manager, Mr. Richard Laurie is going to assist as our grant manager. And then, of course, our parks team and our parks lead Mark Matson will assist in the oversight of the actual contract and construction. And then the playground vendor and contractors, while we've had some phenomenal examples set in that we've utilized to kind of budget and estimate our budget pieces. I don't know why that's not showing up as the same on my screen right now. That's interesting. Summer. Oh no, maybe we lost it. Technology again. How weird is that? I was like, why is it not showing the same screens that I am? Okay, I'm just gonna keep on going while I try to get back in for the second time today. Let's see, but it does look like we're gonna go out potentially for a bid for this project as well. So we've gotten some phenomenal examples, but the end final project scope will obviously be depending on that final contractor. We also want to make sure that we get some community input as well. And so there will be a community input process in which we hope to allow the community to potentially vote on some play elements and, structures, playground elements, which would be great. Okay. It's gonna happen. Okay. There we go. Okay. And then in terms of the estimated timeline, the final application is actually due this Thursday, May 31st. So we're getting the second public hearing right in under the timeline there. And then we've definitely got a couple of steps to get through. We've got to execute our contract with the state for the grant funds. Potentially prepare a request for proposal, advertise for bids, of course, award the construction contract, get some community input, finalize a design, and then the project start and completion. While a lot of those middle steps don't necessarily have a specific timeline, we do have 18 months to complete the project from the June 1st start date. So we anticipate that the project will be completed at the latest by December 31st of 2025. And then we've already reviewed in that first public hearing, the potential budget breakdown. And again, this is just an estimation because it's going to be dependent on that final contractor. But overall, we're looking at about $780,000 in allocated funds, $250,000 from the grant, the remaining funded from the city from RAP tax and sale and use tax funds. And then we've got the budget breakdown, which we've already reviewed. So I won't necessarily dive into all that, but that's what we're looking at.
Great. Thank you, Bree.
Thank you guys. Thanks for dealing with all the fun techie things.
So, this is a public hearing, so anybody from the public would like to speak about this project? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 6:21. And just so you guys all know too, with this application, it was ranked at #1 in the process. Richard
Oh, wow.
completed the application, so I think there was about 8 applications and this project was ranked #1. So I think that's great work. Now I close the public hearing. I'm going to move on to item 5.2, consideration of approval of a letter of funding commitment for the Swanee Park Playground Community Development Block Grant. Any questions for Bree at this point, or if you are so inclined, you're welcome to go ahead and make a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move to approve the mayor to sign the letter committing the city of Moab to a local contribution of $530,081.92 for the 2024 CDBG Swanee Park All Abilities Playground proposal.
Motion by Jason,
I'll second.
second by Tawny. Discussion tape, Jason?
No, I think this is a great thing for our community and really looking forward to it.
Yep.
Thank you. Bree.
Yep.
And
Tawny?
No, I just want to say thank you. This really has been a long time coming. We've been having comments about it for years and years and years.
Yes.
I didn't realize playground stuff was so expensive either.
No, well, yeah, and bathrooms, that's next. Any other discussion from council? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right. We will move on to our next public hearing. This is a public hearing for ordinance 2024-01, an ordinance of the City Council of Moab annexing the TJ Moab Enterprises property at 1082 South Main Street to the City of Moab and assigning the zone of C4 General Commercial to the parcel. If you all recall, actually it was last summer. So Colin and Caitlin, you weren't a part of this. We did do a pre-annexation agreement. Basically, what we will be getting out of this, as you know, when we go forward with annexing property, we like to get something in return. And so on this property, we're getting retail and office space, something we really need. We're going to get sustainability as a lead. It's going to be a lead building, which is great. City Hall is a lead building. And if in the event that they ever build housing, it'll be 100% active employee. And that's in the pre-annexation agreement. Michael's gonna talk a little, did I open the public hearing? Oh, sorry. So I'm gonna open the public hearing at 6:24. And then Michael will do a brief presentation and.
Okay,
we'll
I'll
hit
just show you a couple pictures because the mayor did a great presentation already, so.
Pictures of your kids.
Well, yeah. Okay, here we go. So as the mayor explained, this is an annexation. It's gone through a process. I'll recap the process at the end, but just as a reminder, annexations follow the annexation element of the general plan. We do actually have an annexation element. That yellow line that goes around the city is the annexation boundary. It's in most cases pretty big. And we were talking about with the general plan amendment, looking at that a little bit further, but for the purposes of this application, it fits it within the current annexation area. The city council has broad discretion on annexations, which means that you can approve them. You may not want to approve them. It's completely up to you. The city council goes through a process where you look at a pre-annexation agreement, which you have done. And this, for this property, which is at 1082 South Highway 91, the yellow area that you can see there is the area that is proposed to be annexed. The owner is Ty Shumway. It's just about a half an acre. The current zoning is highway commercial in the county, and we're looking at C4. And as you can see where it's colored in, it would just coordinate with the properties across the street. So DC4, just like the properties across the street, and most likely similar to other properties as they annex adjacent to that. Now, there was some concern or maybe a question about, does this create a peninsula? And although that technically may be a peninsula, if you look up the Webster's Dictionary, it is not a peninsula for the intent of the Utah State Code. In fact, Utah State Code only talks about creating unincorporated peninsulas, so the opposite of this. And this does not create an unincorporated peninsula. So the future site plan, which is determined through the pre-annexation agreement. So we have an agreement with the owner to do a site plan, which is similar to this. This process does not approve the site plan per se. Still have to go through a process with planning and get building permits and those types of things. But as the mayor pointed out, it'd be mixed office and retail development. If any future residential comes in, if this one building is changed over to residential, all of the units would be required to be AEH. And of course, we have the sustainability efforts that the owner has agreed to do through the pre-annexation agreement, which are listed there. So as far as process goes, there was a pre-annexation agreement that was done. It was executed. The owner of the property was required to go through an annexation petition process with our city recorder. That process has been fulfilled. The Planning Commission has done their review and made a recommendation to the City Council. And now we're at the City Council having a public hearing, and we are recommending that the annexation be approved and this property be annexed as pointed out or set forth in the packet item.
Okay, thanks, Michael. Anybody from the public willing to come up and make a statement?
Move if you need.
All right, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:28 PM and move on to consideration of adoption of ordinance number 2024-01, an ordinance to annex the property located at approximately 1082 South Highway 191, Moab, Utah 84532, located in unincorporated Grand County. Any questions for Michael before we move on with the motion? Motion?
Make a motion. I move that the Moab City Council approve Moab City Ordinance number 2024-01, an ordinance to approve the annexation of property located at 1082 South Highway 191, Moab, Utah 84532, subject to written approval by Grand County.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
No.
I'll second.
Strike that last part.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, very good. Seconded by Caitlin. Discussion, Colin.
No, the packet, the information in the packet was wonderful. It was great, very thorough, and I think this is a great project, and I'd love to see this be a part of our city.
Caitlin?
I'd echo Colin's comments. I'm excited about what's proposed for this parcel.
Anybody else? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Michael. Can't leave yet.
So
All right, next up, we have consideration of adoption of resolution number 11-2024, a resolution approving the Red Rock Retreat Townhome Plat application for property located at 241 East, 100 North, Moab, Utah 84532. Michael will explain. This is an administrative decision. Remember, you've heard me talk about sooner or later, we're not going to see these kind of decisions. This is the same thing. But we haven't changed our ordinance yet, so you guys do have to consider this. So Michael?
okay. So as the mayor said, it's a townhome plat. It's located at 241 East, 100 North, just right over here. The buildings are virtually built. There's 4 townhomes. It's in the R3 multifamily zone. And what a townhome plat is, it's similar to a condo plat, but a condo plat, you don't necessarily own the ground underneath your unit. You could be on the 3rd floor or the 17th floor for that matter. A townhome plat is similar to any division of land where you own the land beneath your unit and up to wherever, Alpha Centauri, I think. But you own the land, and that's the point. So that's basically the only difference between a condo plat and townhome plat, except with our ordinance, a townhome plat has to be approved by the city council, and a condo plat could have just been administrative approval. And that will change with the new ordinance coming through, and the planning commission or administratively will approve all of these, and they won't be coming to the city council. There's really not much more to it than that. This is a development that's previously been approved. It's not subject to AEH because it was approved prior to the AH ordinance.
Questions for Michael? Motion?
Sure, okay. I move that the city council approve Moab City Resolution 11-2024, a resolution approving the Red Rock Retreat Townhome plat of property located at 241 East, 100 North Moab, Utah, 84532.
Motion by Luke, second?
I'll second.
Second by Caitlin. Discussion, Luke?
Nope.
Caitlin?
Nope.
Anybody else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay. It's like we're moving so fast. It's like, this is okay. All right, our last item of general business is item 5.6, consideration of approval of resolution 16-24. A resolution of the city of Moab approving an extension of the Monument Waste Service franchise agreement between the city and Canyonland Solid Waste Authority for solid waste management services. As you know, we had a presentation by Mike, the executive director, last week, and there's still some negotiations to go. That's going to take some time. Take it away, David. There's not much more to say.
Not really. This is set the time at 4 months just so that we would avoid any potential really for having to come back for another extension. I don't anticipate it will take that long. We've made some good progress already to come up with a draft set of rates for your consideration. Have a little bit more to do, and then I'll be circulating that to you for your and then we'll hopefully have this at a meeting coming up pretty shortly. We do still need to work out exactly how much do we need to have a public hearing or not in order to do some of these things, because there's the ILA itself, but then there's also, we will definitely have to change some of the city code to conform with whatever decision it is that you make with regard to waste services, presuming we move forward with the district. So just a few steps we got to make sure we're really, belt and suspendersing this. And I just needed a little more time, and that's where we're at.
Questions regarding the extension?
So is Monument fine with the extension? I mean,
Canyonlands. It's not Monument.
or no, sorry, yeah, Canyon Solid Waste District.
Well, I think that they wish that we didn't have to do an extension, but
Right.
Mike understands the need for it.
So there's not like I guess within this agreement, the rates will stay the way they are,
Status quo, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And right now in city code, in order for any rates to change, the council has to approve them directly.
Okay.
Right.
Any other questions?
No, I just know that, just peering in from the outside, that David and Marcy and Mike are all working really hard at this. And I think that, from what I can tell, what we will receive for our consideration will be quite an acceptable package in my mind. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for David? All right, we'll ask for a motion.
What's that? I think there's not a motion. I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to extend the contract with
Oh, you know what? It says that on the agenda. Extension of the Monument Waste Services franchise agreement. Is that what this is?
So are we extending the Monument Waste District or is it a new contract with Special Service District?
Go.
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys did get the franchise agreement, I believe, in an email.
Yes.
So you can
So
see what you
when-
currently have.
When Canyonland Solid Waste Authority took over, they basically assumed the franchise agreement from Monument Waste. So there was never a new franchise agreement for Canyonland Solid Waste Authority. It was specifically, they just assumed that the old Monument Waste franchise agreement. So it is extending that franchise agreement, the Monument Waste franchise agreement through Canyonland Solid Waste Special Service District.
Oh, goodness.
You can just say the agreement.
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement, the agreement, for 6 months.
No,
or
4
4 months, sorry.
September 30th.
September, I thought it was, okay. I'll make a motion to approve the agreement, for a period of 4 months.
Okay, I'll second. All right, motion made by Jason, seconded by Tawny. Discussion, Jason,
No.
Tawny, anybody else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right. That ends our general business section of our agenda for this evening. But now we move on to city manager updates.
Yes. Couple of very quick things. One is the Red Cross through the county's emergency management staff requested that the city officially designate some facilities for use if and when there's some sort of disaster that happens and we need to shelter people at them. And so the gym and the MRAC and the MARC are the three that we have designated as those facilities just moving forward. So hopefully the MRAC will
Yeah, do we want to?
just, it's very aspirational. No, it'll be fine. Those are the three that we would use for sheltering residents and visitors if there was a need for that in terms of that kind of disaster. So that's,
We'll use Jason's pool.
That's right.
yes,
Empty the pool. there'll be plenty
that's
of-
one. Yeah, the two other things, one is you'd probably heard and received some feedback from business owners in particular on Main Street about kind of the garbage situation and trash cans and how kind of crazy it had gotten. We, I think, have gotten that under control at this point. Some of the cans are very bespoke in their design, and we've pulled them off to repair them ourselves and work with the district, solid waste district, to make sure our pickup schedule is matching our need down there. And the third thing is that the Rocky Mountain Power franchise agreement is up for renewal, and so we will be looking closely at that here. It's really a generational opportunity to make sure our expectations and understanding of what our relationship is with that power provider is adequately reflected in the agreement that we have with them for probably the next 10 to 20 years.
When does that expire?
Oh, I can't remember exactly, but it's sometime this year.
Okay,
Street lights.
It's a thing.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Replace them all.
And that'll come before us.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. Mhm.
All right, anything else, David?
No, Mayor.
All righty, we'll move on to council reports and we'll start with you, Tawny.
Okay. I didn't do a whole lot, but I did have a museum board meeting. And the museum has 2 new board members. I think they will be a really good addition to that board. And just keep your eye out. The museum is doing some really, really good programming right now. And it seems to be very accessible and people are giving really good feedback, and both visitors and locals. And there's a lot of opportunity to participate. I also attended the Housing Authority meeting. I had to get back to work, so I only gave my report and left. But their packets are public, so if anybody's really interested in what's going on, they're on their website.
Thank you, Tawny. Jason.
I attended a couple things. I attended the counties, did a study on the Trail to Tomorrow. It was kind of studying tourism in Grand County and what we needed to do kind of to make it sustainable or what people were looking for. And there's a lot of really good things that kind of came up with that I thought I need to get the copy of their slide deck to kind of extrapolate all the information, because there was a lot of information, but was really good. And I think more will be coming out about it. One thing that I thought was pretty interesting was that Moab residents make up 71% of the sales tax collected.
Wow.
Was something they brought
Oh,
up.
isn't that interesting?
Yeah, so I was like pretty blown away with it, you know, that's what they said in the meeting, and I was like, really? But,
Skeptical.
and only about 29% is generated by tourists. And that's after taking out TRT, you know, so you take out TRT, like just like the sales tax, you know, of like the grocery store and things like that, so.
So much for sales tax, for tourists paying for everything than the sales tax.
Yeah, that's pretty, the other things they talked about was that, is again, housing is our biggest issue is, you know, that, as we try to diversify our economy and try to diversify things right here, we're really kind of crippled by housing. You know, we can't do any of that stuff. It's kind of, I would say, the foundation of what we need to kind of base things on. Other couple things I attended the EMS week barbecue, and attended two things. I had a reunion for all the EMTs for the last, I think they said that as near as they can tell, EMS started in Moab in 1973 in the county, and it was pretty. They had a barbecue with a lot of the old timers that were there, and it was pretty interesting to see, and it was good. It was a lot of fun. And then I attended the Public Works barbecue up at Old City Park, which was a lot of fun. And I don't know who the winners of the cornhole tournament, but I'll tell you who the absolute worst team was at the cornhole tournament. Colin and I. The very last place.
Disgrace.
Yeah, disgrace. Disgrace. Yeah. We didn't have one game that was even, or it was even close. We got thrown on alarm.
No mercy.
Yeah, I think Colin's crossed.
Made a right.
I don't know where he's aiming. But it was a lot of fun. It was fun hanging out with the Public Works Department. But it was a good time. But that was it.
Thanks, Jason.
We'll be back.
We'll be back.
Oh, no, they might not like that.
We make everybody else feel good.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
There you go. There you go. Okay, anything else?
No, that's it.
Caitlin?
Well, I'll pick up. I also went to the Public Works barbecue and Levi and I played against these guys and it felt really good to win. We lost immediately the next game. But that's
Glad
okay.
we're there for you.
Good job, Pete.
Yeah, it was really fun. The day before we also did a visit to Public Works, kind of a ride along, but mostly hung out at the sheds and talked to a lot of the crew and fleets and streets and facilities. Just kind of chatting for a few hours about what they do and their backgrounds and some of their needs and perspectives on the city. And I just would pass along to everyone on council. Public Works was so appreciative to us for taking the time to go to the barbecue and to stop by and spend a couple hours with staff. I think it meant a lot to them to feel supported by council. So that was great. I also went to the EMS barbecue and then did a ride along on Saturday. We got one call 9 minutes before I was supposed to leave. So I didn't get to go on any calls, but got to, sharpen up my CPR compression skills. And it's fun getting to tour the new facility and get to talk with the crew about what they do. And then lastly, I just wanted to give a public thank you to 100 Women Who Care, who last Thursday voted as members to send $11,600 to 3 families at Walnut Lane. Huge, and just really appreciate 100 Women Who Care for all of the projects they do, and especially for supporting Walnut Lane. And that's all that I have.
Thank you, Caitlin.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It's awesome.
I think, speaking of ride-alongs, Lex, if anybody wants to ride.
Oh, yeah, we're
at
coming for you
PD,
next.
Yeah, they'd love to have you too, so you
Yeah.
can see the work that they do, so.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And then after that, you, Michael.
Watch Michael at his computer.
Yeah.
Say not good. Turn
Yeah,
the
so-
lights on.
So if anybody's interested in MPD, I encourage you to do
Absolutely,
that. Just reach
yeah.
out to Lex and he'll set something up. Yeah, it'd be good for you to do, it, especially now that's busy.
Mhm.
All right, Luke. Oh, sorry, Lex, I'm sorry, I didn't.
I was just saying, after you should have.
Good to know.
We want the action.
All right, Luke.
So I attended a mock meeting where we had a really interesting presentation of a report on the Matheson wetlands and northern Spanish groundwater resources. So this is kind of the end of a multi-year study that was done. The data is still very preliminary. It's still under peer review and everything like that. There's likely going to be some changes, but not a ton. It really kind of showed the strong influence from the Colorado River on the elevation of the groundwater in the wetlands. It kind of helped clarify some things between the interaction with like the brine layer and the fresh water there. That kind of confirmed that the brine layer is older. There is some mixing happening between the two. But like, I think the biggest takeaway that I got out of it was there's still a lot unknown. For example, like they were dyeing different springs and like kind of water sources to see where it would end up in the wetlands, and they were able to find most of them, but there was one where like they literally just couldn't find where it popped up. So there's a lot unknown there, but it looks like the water levels have stayed pretty consistent in the wetlands across the years that were measured, where it's approximately 1,050 acre feet going both in and out, which isn't really a lot of water for kind of like that amount of area. And it really kind of speaks to how any significant changes like up systems kind of within the city can have dramatic changes on the wetlands themselves. So yeah, I found that to be really interesting. And then at the Planning Commission, really just kind of went over the draft text amendment for Explore that's going to be coming to us to allow our municipal code to accommodate organizations such as theirs that provide those types of services. It's pretty enlightening. They said that although like all the new hotels and everything are ADA accessible, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's more than just a handful of ADA, like fully ADA compliant hotel rooms in a hotel. And so they have a lot of guests who, like, due to the nature of their conditions, can't like sleep or stay overnight on the river. And so a lot of times these groups have to get separated and kind of put into separate hotel rooms.
Wow. And
And so they really miss out on kind of the opportunity that some of those overnight trips bring in terms of kind of camaraderie and all of that. But yeah, I think the language that they came up with is like really like precisely worded so that we're really allowing programs like this kind of get a foothold within our community and not really allowing people to take advantage of it as some sort of loophole. And I think it's a great thing. It's one of those, this isn't like, it is parallel with our like major economic driver, but it's not. I think this is kind of like a way to build on economic diversity where it kind of branches off of our main thing, but still kind of fills in like unmet needs. And I'm really excited to see that like this very much goes along with just the overall accessibility in Moab that we're trying to promote. And then I had a GWISA meeting. So we were informed that BLM lost funding to maintain 2 gauges that the city's been using as part of its early storm warning notification system. So probably need to have some discussions about whether or not the city wants to like help contribute towards maintenance. I guess right now, the information they've been able to gather is that it's about $18,000 to maintain the gauges, but Mark Stilson says that it can be done for significantly cheaper. I guess like BLM or Forest Service is pretty expensive. We were warned that the blue and green algae is likely to come back in Kens Lake this year because of the high water levels. So just kind of keep an eye on that. It's okay for people, but definitely not safe for dogs. And then the legislature put forward a bill to express support for GWISA to acquire the pipeline that's currently being used by the Department of Energy at the Umstra site. So yeah, in the conversations that they had with the state legislatures, they seem to have really positive support and understanding that this is something that's beneficial for like our county and GWISA as a service provider. But other than that, I think that's it.
Thanks, Luke. Colin, you're up.
Okay, the 22nd, I participated in the Public Works ride along that we never actually got in a vehicle or left the Public Works yard. But I would definitely echo what Caitlin was saying. There was a great appreciation and just amazing learning and connecting with some of our staff and that. So I was very appreciative of that opportunity. And then that evening, I went and enjoyed the EMS barbecue that these two also were at. And then the following day, Public Works barbecue, which nothing else needs to be said about that.
Love to hear your side.
Nursing a bit of an injury. And then on the 25th, on Saturday, I spent 3 hours up at the EMS building without any calls, but it was also a really informative and it was actually in a way it was better to just really be able to connect with those folks and what amazing people and what they're doing up there to keep us all safe. So appreciative of, so great opportunity and look forward to the next ride along. So, that's it.
All right, thank you, guys. I just have a few things. At our next meeting on June 11th, we will be honoring our local foster grandparents and senior companion volunteers. And before that meeting from 4 to 5:30, there's a reception for them at the Grant Center. You guys, I'll forward you the invitation. Love it if you would go and meet with those people. It's great to have folks out there working with our seniors, and foster grandparents is another lovely program for kids that don't have grandparents. So the YouServe of Utah and AmeriCorps seniors, they'll be at that meeting. They'll tell you a little bit more about what they do and how we can help support that group here locally. So that'll be at our next meeting. I hope you all were able to attend the Arts Festival this year. I don't know if you were aware of it. It's one of my favorite events every year, but Teresa King did announce that this is her last coordinating of that festival. So hopefully somebody is going to step up and replace her, because that's an event that would be sad to lose. It's, it's one of our local events. Our visitors like to go there too, but it's a really good event. So thank you, Teresa, for all your hard work in that regard over the years, 30 years. I had an AOG meeting last week, so I was unable to go to the Public Works barbecue. Unfortunately, I missed all the fun. I probably could have beat you guys.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm good at that. But anyway, next year you're on. And then I'll be meeting with Jade Powell and Jerry, their executive directors, to talk about how we can maybe pursue some of the homelessness funding and the rapid rehousing funding that they're due to receive on July 1st. So I'll let you guys know how that conversation goes and see what we can do if we need more funding, perhaps to support Walnut Lane or others in our community that find themselves without a home. We have an UMTRA subcommittee meeting on June 7th. We have, I think if you recall, we applied for a grant with the federal government, with the Department of Energy. We did not get that grant, but we decided that it's important to continue the momentum. And so Michael has drafted a job description and an MOU that we will work with Grant County on, so that we can continue to move that project forward for the future of that site. And we're also anticipating a letter from the National Park Service that will support the transfer of the land to the city and the county. So anticipate, it's always complicated when you're working with the federal government, but we should be seeing a draft of that letter soon. I'll be meeting with Jen Sadoff this Friday to talk about the healthcare needs of our community, get an update of what's happening at Moab Regional. And then lastly, I sent you all an email, but I just want to put this out there that we will be having a public open house regarding the property tax at our prior to our next meeting from 4 to 6 o'clock here in the chambers on June 25th to just show the public what our needs are and our capital improvement projects and get some feedback from them. Lisa's working on how that's going to be formed, but I think it's going to be a really informative process, and hopefully we'll get some public that will come in and tell us they'd like to see their tax dollars go. We're also going to be scheduling radio spots. I'd like for, I'll participate in those, but I'll probably ask one or two of you guys to join me with KZMU and KCYN. We're going to be doing some advertisements in the paper to kind of inform the public. Here's our capital improvement projects. Please, let us know what you think. This is what we're thinking. And then we have the truth in taxation public hearing and consideration on Tuesday, August 6th at 6 o'clock here in the chambers. So that's outside of our regular meeting. It'll be the first meeting on Tuesday. So any questions on that?
Just clarify, did you say the open house, the public open house was our next meeting or on the
The
25th?
25th.
Okay.
And it'll be 4 to 6, and we'll probably leave it up, so after our meeting, depending, we'll probably try to have a shorter meeting. So far, our meetings are all short lately. And then if we need to, if other public members want to come and afterwards, we'll stick around for a little while after. Okay? And so that's all I have. And then we need to go into a really brief closed session to get you guys updated on some of the things that we've been working on. So if I could have a motion to go into an executive session for purchase, exchange, or lease of real property. I don't think we need to do anything on litigation.
Correct.
So just, I need you to say it. I'm forgetting. The attorneys will get mad at me if we don't.
That's right.
I move to go into closed session to discuss sale or rest of it.
The purchase, exchange, or
The
lease.
purchase, exchange, lease or sale of real property. There we go.
All right, motion by Tawny, second
Second.
by Colin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Right.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And that was Tawny. All right. Alrighty.